Joining us now here on the Rich Eisen Show in his usual Wednesday spot is my Hall of Fame friend, Kurt Warner. How are you, Kurt? Good to see you, man.
What's up, Kurt?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Best throw of the weekend. Was it the Caleb? Was it that one, or that's just a prayer answered, and it's just an incredible athletic feat? What do you got for me, Kurt?
Yeah, I mean, it was all that, but I mean, anytime you see a guy, back up and throw a ball 55 yards like that, and have it exactly where it needs to be in a critical. I mean, like, come on. I mean, when you put all the stakes into it, I mean, it's just amazing. You see incredible stuff from him each and every week. I'm excited to see if he can really put all that efficiency together and make the plays that are in front of him, along with what we've seen so many times this year of him bringing him back and him making these special throws. I'm just excited to see the future of Chicago and Caleb Williams if all that can happen.
Yeah, a 40-yard, 14-yard touchdown pass.
Yeah,
is what it was.
I remember going back and going, what did he get credit for?
14 yards. A 40-yard, 14-yard touchdown pass. That to tie the game and send it to overtime. And in overtime, there was a Stafford throw from the opposite hash to the opposite sideline to Devontae Adams. That when he threw that, I'm like, oh my! How many guys in the league could make a throw like that? For real, Kurt. That's incredible.
I really don't know. I mean, the accuracy on it, the placement to put it where he did. I mean, and then the catch on the other end. I mean, just how many combinations in the NFL could actually make that happen? I'm not sure there's very many. That was an unbelievable play as well. And, again, you see these guys are, so incredibly talented that you see different throws like that every single week. The Stafford throw against Carolina to win that game.
How about May over Derek Stingley Jr. to Booty for the one hand? How about that throw?
I mean,
right?
Great throw. Yeah, especially in the weather and everything. But, I mean, that was all about the catch. I mean, for Booty to go out and make that one-handed catch in that situation in those conditions was incredible. And that's usually what advances teams, from one round to the next, is it takes some of those plays along the way. And that one was huge. That was obviously a difference maker in that game.
And then, of course, it helps Sam Darnold didn't have to throw, because Rashid Shaheed gave them the requisite amount of points 13 seconds in,
No doubt. I tell you what, I am disappointed that Charbonnet is out for the rest of the season. I really thought he was coming into his own, and at times was maybe the better running back than Walker in what they were doing. And so that 1-2 punch was so huge. And so I'll be interested to see how that plays out, but disappointed for the young man and for the team because of that.
Kurt Warner referring to Zach Charbonnet. Our radio audience just returned. We got our chit-chat started on our usual Wednesday spot with Hall of Famer Kurt Warner here on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, in terms of Jarrett Stidham, Kurt Warner, we're going to rally around you right now and try and get an answer about how well you think he's going to play and what must be going through this young man's mind with an opportunity and a magic carpet ride, albeit just 2 games worth, sitting right there in front of him to jump on. Kurt?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you want to reference back to my situation, and you hate the injury part of it and what it means for the individual and for your team from that perspective. You're excited about the opportunity as well, to have the opportunity to get out there and showcase what you can do. I mean, for Jared, in this situation with a chance to punch your ticket and start in a Super Bowl is pretty incredible. I don't know. I haven't seen anything like this before. But with all that being said, I think there is a great deal of pressure on him. When I took over, there was, of course, a lot of pressure on me, but it was more personal pressure, than team and organizational pressure at that time. My pressure was, hey, you better perform well, or this may be the last opportunity you have to ever play. His pressure is, okay, we got all the way here. We lost our starter. This is a chance for the Super Bowl. This whole team has worked to get to this point, have home field advantage, and now all eyes are going to be on him. And not that it's right or wrong, but if he doesn't come in and play well, that's going to be the major thing that people look at and go, this is why they didn't go to the Super Bowl. And not that it's his fault because he's a backup and hasn't played in a couple years, all of that. But that will be the narrative that we talk about. If anything happens in this game, or if he doesn't play great in this game, that's going to be the narrative. And so that is a whole nother level of pressure to deal with. And so, it's a completely different situation from me. Although, you understand it getting thrust in there, and, he's been there a couple years. And so he knows the offense. He knows what they're asking him to do, which is, again, when I took over, I felt very comfortable. I felt great in the offense. I felt like I could go in and perform at a high level, and the coaches weren't afraid to, give me the opportunities to play. And so that, to me, is going to be the interesting part of this narrative. It's not just how he plays, but how does the team play? How does, Coach Payton call this game for him? He was up on the podium saying, I got great confidence in Jarrett and what he can do, and just watch and just wait. But a lot of that will be shown by how does he come out in this game? How did they play early? Does he give him opportunities to push the ball down the field, or call plays that are supposed to push the ball down the field and make some of those plays early? Or does he manage this game like I've seen him do with Bo a number of times, and specifically early in Bo's tenure, where it's a lot of bubble screens and a lot of quick designed throws and completions early, allowing everybody else to kind of do the work as opposed to the quarterback and leaving it to the defense. So I'll be interested to see how that part of it plays out. But make no mistake, there's a lot of pressure here on Jarrett Stidham in this moment, just because of the magnitude of what it means for the other 52 in the locker room.
Yeah, it's a great point, Kurt, that, you had the full season to get to the point, thankfully for you and your teammates, to get to the NFC Championship game. And by the way, face the Buccaneers with all those future Hall of Famers on the other side of the line of scrimmage. And he's just like, it's all supercharged. It's all just the now. It's kind of like our current generation. I want it now. I want to go to the Super Bowl now. Well, you actually have the chance. And I guess the other difference, too, is Sean Payton wasn't crying about losing Bo Nix like your coach was crying about losing Trent Green, right, Kurt?
Right. Right. Yeah, like I said, I know he was crying because he lost Trent. I don't know if he was also crying because I had to go in. Like, there was a whole bunch of things going on there. I don't ask the question on why exactly he was crying.
Did you ever ask him? Did you ever ask Dick? Were you crying about me?
I don't think I want to know the answer to that. I think another interesting part, too, is, there was a discussion. I can't remember what it was based off of earlier, if it was Shador or something, just about when he got put in and how backups don't get a lot of reps. So even though he's been there for a couple years and knows the offense, I don't know how many reps he's gotten within the offense this year, especially bringing along a young second-year quarterback in Bo Nix. And so it's another part of it that, you wonder is, yes, I know the plays on paper. How comfortable am I throwing those plays, in terms of a game and with the guys that are going to be on the field?
Well, Kurt, you and I have something to do with this as well, because Jarrett Stidham's 4 career starts came in 2 consecutive seasons for 2 different teams who benched their starting quarterbacks after losing a game that you and I called on Christmas Eve on NFL Network. Derek Carr being sent home. Jarrett Stidham gets a start. We called that game in Pittsburgh. Next year, Russell Wilson sent home. Jarrett Stidham gets 2 starts. We called that game in Denver. That
sounds like a bad, announcer curse that we have or something.
I don't know. Well, it didn't happen to anybody this year. Didn't happen to anybody this year.
Nobody's going to want us on these games. Bill Belichick, the last win that he got.
That's right.
Like, I know there's always something. I don't know how well that bodes for us moving forward.
But is there anything to glean from those 4 starts at all that we can look at? Hang your hat on, and do you want to answer the question about what you think Sean Payton's going to do?
I don't know what we can hang our hat on. I mean, every situation is different. I think anytime a guy has played and that he can play and make some plays in the league, that gives people confidence, whether it's the fan base or, the guys in the locker room knowing what he's capable of. But I don't know if you can pull a whole lot from a couple of years ago and go, okay, well, this is exactly what he's going to be. I'm not really sure. I think we're just going to have to see in the moment where he's at and how he's going to play in this kind of moment. Sean Payton, I do believe that we're going to see, knowing the defense that they have on the other side, I think we're going to see him very much manage the game early on. And I could be wrong. He might come out and go, New England thinks we're going to manage the game. We're going to take some shots early and try to surprise them. But I really believe, like, especially after watching the game last week with the Texans against New England, is the one thing that you don't want is you don't want your quarterback to give this game away when you believe you have a championship defense. And so I believe, looking at that, along with the mindset probably going in anyways, is, hey, let's play this pretty close to the vest early and see where our defense is at, and let's see how this game progresses. And let's not do anything where we make it easier on the other team. And we got to play catch-up type mode. And so that, to me, I think, as he's watching that tape, that'll be in the forefront of his mind is, okay, how do I do this so, we can keep this thing close to the end, or we can take a few shots, but not do anything that may give this thing away or make it way harder on us than it needs to be.
So then what was the larger number as you're making your notes for QB Confidential and everything else that you do with NFL Network and us? Kurt, what was the larger number of you watching the film of Texans at Patriots? Was it the number of times you saw the Patriots defense make a play that's Super Bowl quality that they can repeat against Denver, if not beyond, or the number of times you said about CJ Stroud, what is he doing? What was he seeing? What was the larger number of watching?
I mean, definitely CJ Stroud. And, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of that this year. We talked about it a little bit in the game we did a couple of weeks ago, just, the pressure situations and just seeming to not really be aware of what's going on and what's around him. I called the game on Monday night against the Steelers and broke it down on our show, just how many times he made a bad play worse in that Pittsburgh game where flea flicker and all of a sudden there's bodies around him and he decides to try to throw a 50-yard pass with bodies around him, and obviously he gets hit, or the interception on the naked bootleg this past week where there was a guy right in his, it was like he was oblivious to how close that guy was to him as he turned and tried to, flip his hips and make a throw while the guy's hitting him and the ball goes up in the air and it becomes a pick six. And so those were the things that really left me shaking my head a lot with CJ this year, is just the times that he just didn't seem aware of certain things going on around him. And, and again, this one really dumbfounds me because you can't always pin it on something you're seeing, bad technique or whatever. And me, when he was a rookie, I thought he played like a top 5 quarterback in the league. Like, he was that good that I was so excited about, my gosh, this guy could be one of those really special guys after his rookie year. In the last 2 years, I feel like he's really regressed. And I can't really, again, it's one of those, unless you sit down and talk to a guy, what did you see here? What were you thinking there? I can't really put my finger on it. But it's been frustrating to watch. I know he even mentioned he hasn't played his best football this year, but it's really trying to figure out why, what's going on, and what are you missing right now that we have to get back so we can get that special quarterback we saw when he was a rookie.
Kurt Warner here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk about the NFC Championship game. Fair to say best offense left in the playoffs against the best defense left in the playoffs? Kurt, is that fair?
Yeah, okay. I don't think it's.
Okay. So what's it going to come down to? What do you think?
I think it's going to come down. I mean, there's just so many factors in these games that I love, and that's the beautiful thing when you get down to 2 games. So many things I could point to on this. What I think it's going to come down to is what Seattle does really well is they prevent the big play. The last time these two teams played, the Rams attacked the middle of the field over and over again and got big play after big play after big play. And I know they lost that game, but that was the reason they were up 14. And then, they first possession in overtime, hit a 40-yard touchdown pass to Puka. But attacking the middle of the field is going to be key. Seattle is going to get up and be physical with these receivers. And the great thing is you've got, Puka, who's a physical receiver on that side. You got Devontae, who has the ability to avoid that physicality with his quickness. But that, to me, is going to be a matchup. There's going to be some contested plays in this game because that physicality on the Seattle end. And who wins those battles is going to be key. And then, as always, pressure. Whether it's pressure with the front four. Can Seattle get pressure with four? You talked about the great Tampa team back in the day that I played against. That was their greatest strength. Pressure with four, and then being able to leave everybody else on the back end that you have to work around. Or when they bring pressure, because I did a breakdown this week on QB Confidential of the Rams, and I felt like their ability to answer pressure against Chicago won that game for them. There was 2 or 3 hot situations where Matthew Stafford got the ball to his receiver quick. One was a tight end that led to a huge play that would be the last touchdown that they scored, and then one in overtime to Puka that was right about the 50-yard line where Puka carried a couple guys but set them up for their winning field goal. And so Seattle will bring pressure at different times, and throughout the year it's been kind of 50-50 where, the Rams have had success against it, and other times it's created negative plays. So where that goes when they do bring pressure, because they do a lot of different things, and will bring it from a lot of different areas, will go a long way also in determining, who goes on to Santa Clara.
Man, isn't that amazing? The winner of this game plays in the home of the 49ers for the right to win the Super Bowl. Crazy. And then, of course, you got Vrabel and the Patriots taking on Sean Payton. It's Mike versus Sean in both conference championship games. All right. So then what stands out at you you said it was Rams versus who in our predictions on game?
I said actually Rams versus New England. So I went with a couple-time rematch.
You'll stick with that?
Yeah, why not? I mean, why not? I mean, again, Seattle, I think, just watching them last week, I'm excited for this matchup. I mean, that game, they came out and physically dominated that game.
Yeah.
But the Rams, I felt, have outplayed them in both games they've played this year. So that one's going to be awesome. And I could see either team winning right there. Of course, I'm going to give the advantage to New England on the other side.
Just because of the quarterback.
Just going in. I think they're very evenly matched. I don't think either one of these teams was a great team coming in. And so, going with a guy that had an MVP type season, even though hasn't necessarily been great in the playoffs, but has made some big plays. You just have to lean in that direction. And it's a bummer to say, but really because the backup quarterback is playing for Denver.
So, because again, we could find out in a couple of Thursdays is in fact the MVP of the league, the reigning MVP of the league, despite turning it over as many times as Josh Allen did, still put 30 up on the Denver defense. So anything that you saw there that you think Drake May and the Patriots offense can exploit on any of the film that you watched for QB Confidential, Kurt? Yeah,
I mean, for sure. Like if you're able to protect, up front, which is the whole key against this Denver team, they're aggressive on the back end. They do some things on the back end, but they allow a lot of big plays on the back end. And there were a lot of big play opportunities in that game for the Bills. Some were hit and some were missed in that game, including the last one. Josh had Brandon Cooks open. If he just throws it earlier and throws it further, they probably win that football game and he may walk into the end zone. So there are some big plays to be had, especially against their man-to-man coverage, if you could protect up front. And New England's been very good at pushing the ball down the field and getting those big plays. And so that will be, again, a determining factor, really, I think, for both defenses, is that you want to force the offense to have to move the field and make the right play over and over again. And so you don't want to give up those big plays. But, there was a number of big play opportunities, and, that'll be a key in that matchup.
Obviously, if it's Rams-Patriots, get ready for, obviously a lot of memory lane stuff, Kurt.
Yeah.
With you and what goes through your mind when you see this picture, you and young Tom Brady, Kurt?
That guy right there. Come on, man. No. Obviously, I know that we kind of started the dynasty, of the Patriots in that game. I think the biggest thing that I think about in that game was just us not playing our best football, because obviously we had a chance to win our second in 3 years. And that's just the beauty of our sport is it's not a 7-game series, where I think we could have probably beat the Patriots the majority of times if we played them, in a 7-game series. You get one shot, you get 3 hours. And in those 3 hours, they outplayed us. Even though Tom wasn't great necessarily in the game, He was great in the moment, which is what really become what Tom Brady is known for, is that last drive. We kind of thought we had taken the momentum. Okay, they'll play conservative, just go into overtime, and they went for it. And Tom made some plays, and then Adam, kicking the game winner with no time on the clock, first Super Bowl ever decided in that moment. It was a great football game, but a lot of missed opportunities by us in that one, and that's. When I think about that or I see that, that's what I think of. Yeah.
I think of 2 future Hall of Famers. That's what I think of. Kurt.
Oh, okay. Well, that's nice.
That's the way I feel it.
Nice. I'm sure that's not what they're going to be talking about if those two teams make it, and we show the replays of those games over.
I have a microphone too. I will talk you up. Nobody's asking the question of the Sports Illustrated cover behind you anymore. We all know who you are. Kurt, thanks again, buddy. I'll see you this weekend. Oh, actually, I won't. You're calling the AFC Championship game, right?
I'm actually calling the NFC Championship game. So I'm actually going to be in Seattle for that one. But right. I will obviously be on the show, so I'll talk to you. Just won't see you.
Okay. Early wake up for Kurt, even though he doesn't like to get to the stadium that early, but there's no I in Kurt or Warner. Thanks for the time as always, bud. Be well.
All right, man.
That's Kurt Warner, everybody right here. Everybody check out QB Confidential, his YouTube channel. Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.